Welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Brandon here with Colton, and today we are doing our gameplay for Saekano. We previewed this deck earlier this week on Tuesday. And Colton, what are we playing against?
We're playing against Dragon Maid. It's time. It comes out in 2 weeks? It's time to actually start playing this on the channel, and this is basically just a pile of cards. We're still very much in the testing phase. I'm playing the bar combo into the choice combo.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you missed out on the deck profile earlier this week, Saekano is playing Standby into Pants. That Standby doesn't combo with anything specifically in this deck, but rather just trying to use that as a tool to help get some of these cards out early and free to be able to then spawn out the 2-1 we have here in my hand already. Just trying to help win board in the mid game, so that way when I get to the end game, I'm not spending so many resources for the closing of it. We do close with the Icy Tail combo, which doesn't require any additional cost for the Icy Tail. So it's just a 6-stock tri-field endgame for that. We do play a little bit into the memory, as we're seeing here, that helps to try to hopefully compress into that next deck to try to get some more cancels. Not nearly to the degree of memory that you'll see in set 2, but at least a little bit of memory here. Here's the debate of what I was actually trying to get for this card here. I end up choosing a 0 because I'm like, I only have 2 zeros in hand and one of them's 1k runner. And so I'm like, I don't think that's going to do super well in trying to when you hit level 1. So if I figure I could have a card to the Unreverse Drop Search here, I can also get rid of the 2-1 that I have in hand, get it in waiting room so I can spawn it out with the Standby. That's the immediate thought plan for that. You know, just do the math. I'm like, okay, I can't get rid of the 3-5. I can pump 2k power with the Drop Search.
Yeah, Saekano's standby targets are interesting because, instead of your typical 1-1-2-2 lineup, you see a lot more of these, the 1-0s that still sit pretty big, but also have a chance to plus, kind of a coin flip effect. And the 2-1 that on its own isn't that big, but if you get multiple copies, suddenly gets up to that, 11-5 kind of range. I whiffed my Chiuri the previous turn, but was able to get my runner down. So I was able to center run, keep the extra card on board. I debate here. This is actually me debating whether or not to go get a third copy of the combo off the Drop Search, which was my initial plan. But ultimately, I decided that I would rather not. Simply because I'd be milling a little bit more, but I already have enough mill to get through my pretty small deck at this point. So I wouldn't be getting an additional plus by playing over that runner because everything's going to die cross turn anyway because it's Dragon Maid and Dragon Maid doesn't keep power. So I opt instead to search out the 1-1, which I think I end up ditching anyway just because it didn't really come into play, but so probably a waste of a Drop Search, really. I also definitely forgot to add Soul on the second attack here because I'm supposed to get Soul from that Drop Searcher to the middle lane. So, oops.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You're going to see, especially now that we're starting to do it this way, we're going to, or our gameplay videos in particular, we're going to leave in more stuff like that just because this is literally just us testing. So you're kind of watching the testing rounds, as it were.
Here I was debating whether or not to pull the Umagi back to hand, which I could do to pump power with the climax in play. But because these level 1s are actually are powered up through characters on field, it would actually be taking away 500 power from the full field to remove it. So I elect to keep it on instead of trying to just pump up a single lane because they are bigger than your board as they are. So you'll notice I didn't get rid of the 2-1.
Sorry, I'm a big fan of these level 1s for Saekano. I think that's a neat profile.
Yeah, right.
and they sit big enough on board that they're actually a bit of a hassle to deal with.
We saw this to pretty great effect with like the swimsuit Megamine a few years back. So it's very much that same kind of profile. Because the level 1 combos are a bit rougher for Saekano.
Yeah. So this turn, I think this demonstrates something that makes the bar specifically in Dragon Maid kind of neat. There is the 1-0 event in the trial deck that lets you sack a character and search for a climax. So on top of, the normal kind of bar recursion you can get off of, just, hitting a bar, you can also, if you can get your Torus back into your hand, use that event, which you can plus off the top check 3 to just go get your CX again, and then mill through 9 cards again, mill through 12 with your triggers. So I think that extra little bit of recursion is what puts the bar combo over the top. It's still not very big. It only swings at about 6-5. But again, like you're milling 12 every time you try field it, and it becomes that much easier to do so, especially when you're playing a Salvage Brainstormer, if you can compress well in that first deck, which is what you want to do with that deck speed anyway. So I think there's some synergy there that makes recurring the level 1 easier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that there is some of that there. Going into this turn, because I have 2 of the 2-1s in front, they're actually sitting at 11-5 because of the back row support as well for music trait. So I actually have a pretty decent board that's pretty big.
Music trait, good and standard.
Yeah, right. So I'm actually sitting pretty decently at board here in this turn.
Yeah.
You do have one character that could reverse it.
Yeah, and that's, that is the thing that I think Dragon Maid struggles with the most. As much as it does have Power Pump, it doesn't have enough to really clear 2/2 standby targets all the time. I like this card a lot, the one that just reversed the 2-1, because it sits at 10 when facing a 2, and you can easily pump it to 12, which is what I do here, and then I can get the reverse. So I think that card is a little bit better than I've seen people talking about it. So it's at least decent. But I think that Dragon Maid is not going to clear board a ton unless it uses things like that or the 2-1 early play bomb, which is also a decent profile.
I debate here whether or not to play the CX. Because I'm about a half level behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of want to push damage here to get going. But at the same time, you were pretty decently compressed.
Yeah, I do end up triple canceling there. And I had picked up the choice for the level 3 combo off of my last combo. Because again, that combo is just top check 3, add 1. So you can actually add your choice combo, which is really nice. So you didn't have any way of knowing that the last card in my deck wasn't a CX. So I think Icy Tailing there makes sense.
It was the debate. It was the debate of whether or not you actually had it in hand or in deck. I debated it, and I suspected that it was the CX, which is why I did the Icy Tail, but at the same time, I'm like, you had a big enough hand, it could have been in hand. So yeah, no, it was a good call, grabbing the CX for you, and I think the Icy Tail probably was still a little early. I probably should have just held the CX and waited a turn. But at the same time, if you pushed it to 3, I was probably dead. So
yeah, and that's also like where I'm a little bit stuck right here because I'm at 2-3 after refresh, right? And
yeah,
I debated clocking because I didn't have amazing playables. Like as you can see, I'm debating here whether or not I want to side just to keep a blocker, but I ultimately decided to crash, and it doesn't really matter anyway. But I didn't really have good playables, So I decided not to clock just to give myself one more bit of damage cushion. That's the turn where I think that you would want to play the early play healer if you do. But I'm not in the blue package just because like blue has like 2 good cards. So
I was able to draw into the CX again to be able to combo again. I do the Imaki here. But at this point, you were pretty decently compressed, so I was like, okay, if I can get you into your next deck, I could probably stick some actual damage here. You managed to just cancel all that first swing.
I took the one. I took the one off of the Icy Tail, but yeah, that was it. And then like my compression's decent here. It's not amazing, but it's enough to cancel, multiple swings for 4. So I do live. And then this is I think that Carmen from Pittsburgh was just 100% right when he talked about how this top end should be played out. Because, so right here, like I have everything in hand to not just do the 2 copies of the combo, but also the Icy Tail. The Icy Tail is nice because it's draw 2, ditch 1, right? So I was able to get rid of, cards that I could not ditch off of the combo because that requires you to ditch a character. But the Icy Tail, it's ditch 2 for the 4-card Icy Tail, is ditch anything. So you can ditch events, you can ditch CXs. So it's harder to whiff this with your hand. It's harder to, look at your hand and go, oh, I have an event in a hand, I can't do all of it. So, and when you have 8 stock, then you have enough because you create enough stock to do the pay 2 pitch 1 on the actual combo.
Yeah, and you hit the CX on the Icy Tail. Had you not hit that, I would have been able to free fresh and pull the 8th climax out of stock back into the deck and deny the refresh point. But you did hit it, so you were able to you did the correct play, mill through my deck, get my into the new deck. Where now it's like I could get 2 CXs in there to pump it up to like 8 out of 32. But
and I declare 3 on both of these attacks. I spent a minute thinking about it, but eventually I just came to the conclusion that like I need to swing for 3-4 times and just trust that you're not going to cancel all of them. I got a little worried after you cancel the first 2, but ultimately I was able to stick one of the 3s and close it out, which is, kind of what you want to do with the Dragon Maid top end, right? Like it's one of 2 pretty decent top ends in Dragon Maid. I think the choice is slightly better just because like the being able to choose your own damage is kind of nice because you can swing for exact lethal. And like in that situation where you need 3, it's like, okay, well I get to swing for 3-4 times. Hopefully one of them sticks.
Yeah, and Saekano was able to push about 7 damage on that last turn. At the same time, you were at 2-3, 2-4, so it was like it had a bigger damage threshold that it needed to surpass that it didn't.
Right, and that's where I think Saekano's top end is. I think that's its weakness. Is a simple Icy Tail is just as much as it's free, like it is a free Icy Tail, right? But it's also it doesn't push enough. Like you need to stick multiple of your actual swings as well as at least 1 point of Icy Tail damage in order to, actually get to 7. Or you need all of your Icy Tails to hit and all of them to stick their damage. So, like, it's not going to consistently close from 3-0, which is why I think it's, not a great top end. Like, it's playable. It's a fine top end. But
that's why it tends to have other tools alongside it, like the restander, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to have those tools so that way you can decompress your opponent so you don't have to worry as much about their compression to just try to stick those swings over and again. Either way, it was able to stick about 7, which is realistically about what you would want to ask for when you have a combo like that. And it did even have a technically swing for lethal at you. So, like, it did throw damage at you enough to be able to potentially try to close the game. So, that's Saekano. This is set 1. Set 2 is in the near future. We haven't had a date yet announced for it, but we do expect that to be late spring, early summer, so we're looking towards that.
But yeah, we'll have a Clock Talk on Tuesday, more 5 cards, 5 minutes the following Thursday. You have Weiss 102 the following Tuesday, and then more 5 cards, 5 minutes the following Thursday, I believe.
Yep.
But yeah, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back on Thursday. In the meantime, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and have a good one.
We'll see you then.